I'm 91 years old and I've lived alone for 15 years. When my husband Harold died, everyone worried about me. They said, "Peggy, you'll be so lonely. Peggy, you should move closer to the kids. Peggy, you need to get out more." Well, it's been 15 years. I haven't moved. I don't get out much. And I am perfectly, completely, wonderfully fine. I'm not lonely. I've never been lonely, actually. And I think there are a lot of people out there like me. People who are happy alone, but feel like something's wrong with them because the world keeps saying they should want more people around. So I thought I'd share what I've learned. 5 tips for living alone without being lonely. Maybe they'll help someone. The first thing, and this is the most important one, is understanding that alone and lonely are not the same thing. Not even close. You can be alone and perfectly content. You can be surrounded by people and desperately lonely. I've seen both. Loneliness is about connection, not proximity. It's about whether you feel known, understood, valued. You can get that from one person you talk to once a week. You can miss it entirely at a party with 100 people. So the first question isn't, am I alone too much? It's, do I have a connection that matters? Those are different questions. I talk to my daughter Karen every Sunday. 20 minutes, maybe 30. That's enough for me. Some people need more. That's fine. But don't assume you need constant company just because that's what everyone else seems to want. Figure out what you actually need. It might be less than you think. Second tip, build a routine. When you live with other people, the day has structure built in. Meals together, conversations, the rhythm of someone else's schedule. When you live alone, you have to create that yourself. Otherwise, the days just blur together. I get up at 7 every morning. I make tea. Same cup, same tea, same chair by the window. I watch the birds at my feeder for about 20 minutes. Then I read the news. Then I have breakfast. It sounds boring maybe, but it's not. It's grounding. It's a way of saying today is a real day with a shape to it. When Harold was alive, I always made dinner at 5:30 because that's when he got hungry. After he died, I realized I wasn't even hungry until 7 most nights. So I changed it. That felt like freedom, actually, finding my own rhythm instead of matching someone else's. If you live alone, you get to decide. That's not loneliness. That's liberty. Third, have something that needs you. For me, it's my cat, Mildred. She's 11 years old, very opinionated, and she expects breakfast at 7:15 exactly. If I'm late, she lets me know about it. It doesn't have to be a pet. It could be plants, a garden, birds you feed, something that's alive and counts on you showing up. It gives you a reason to get out of bed even on the days when you don't feel like it. And there will be days you don't feel like it. Having something that needs you helps. I also keep a bird list. Every bird that comes to my feeder, I write it down in a notebook. Date, time, species, how many. It's silly maybe, but it gives me something to watch for, something to notice. When you live alone, you need things to pay attention to. Otherwise, the world gets too quiet and you get stuck in your own head. Fourth tip, and this might sound strange, be picky about people. When you live alone, your social energy is limited. You can't waste it on people who drain you or relationships that are just noise. I have 3 close friends, Margaret from church, we've known each other 60 years, Doris from my book club, and my neighbour Helen, who's 84 and also lives alone. That's it. 3 friends I actually want to talk to, who actually know me, who I'm genuinely glad to see. That's worth more than 20 acquaintances I have to perform for. I used to feel guilty about this, like I should want more friends, more activities, more socializing. But I've learned that quality matters more than quantity. One real conversation is worth 10 polite ones. One friend who knows you is worth 20 who just know your name. If you're an introvert, give yourself permission to have a small circle. There's nothing wrong with that. Last tip, and this is the big one. You have to actually like yourself. Because when you live alone, you're stuck with yourself all the time. If you can't stand your own company, living alone is going to be miserable. If you can enjoy your own company, it's wonderful. This took me a long time. I spent years thinking I was too quiet, too boring, too much of a homebody. I'd compare myself to outgoing people and feel like I was doing life wrong. I wasn't. I was just doing life differently. And differently isn't wrong. I like reading, I like my tea in the morning, I like watching birds and petting my cat and going to bed early. I don't like parties, I don't like small talk, I don't like being busy just for the sake of being busy. And at 91, I finally stopped apologizing for any of that. If you're living alone and struggling, ask yourself, are you struggling because you're lonely, or are you struggling because you think you should be lonely? Those are different problems. The first one needs connection. The second one needs permission. Permission to be content with a quieter life than the world says you should want. I miss Harold. I do. 47 years is a long time, and there's an empty chair at the table that never stops being empty. But missing someone isn't the same as being lonely. I carry him with me. I think about him every day, and I also have a full life without him. A different life than when he was here, but still full. My children worry that I'm isolated. I understand why. But I'm not isolated, I'm just quiet. I have my routine, my cat, my books, my birds, my 3 friends. I have Sunday calls with Karen and visits from the grandchildren at Christmas. I have enough, more than enough, actually. Some people are built for solitude. I'm one of them. Maybe you are too. And if you are, I want you to know there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not missing something everyone else has. You're just wired for quiet. And quiet can be a very good life if you let it. So 5 tips. Know the difference between alone and lonely. Build a routine. Have something that needs you. Choose your people carefully and make peace with yourself. That's all I've got. It's time for my afternoon tea. And Mildred's looking at me like I've already taken too long with this. Be well. Now, thinking deeper about this journey of 15 years, I realise that the silence of a house isn't just an absence of noise. It is a presence of its own. It is a canvas. When Harold first passed, the silence felt heavy, like a physical weight in the corners of the living room. I used to leave the television on just to have a human voice nearby, even if it was just a news anchor talking about things I didn't care about. But slowly, I started turning the volume down. I started listening to the house itself, the way the floorboards creak when the temperature changes, the hum of the refrigerator, the wind brushing against the siding. I realized that the noise I was seeking was just a distraction from the person I was becoming in my older years. You find that your inner voice gets clearer when there's no one else to talk over it. I think back to the early days of our marriage. Harold and I were always together. We were a unit. When you are part of a couple for nearly half a century, you forget where you end and the other person begins. You share opinions, you share tastes, you share a memory bank. After he left, I had to sort through all those things and figure out what was actually mine. Do I actually like the news at 6 Tower, or did I just watch it because he did? It turns out I prefer listening to classical music or just sitting in the dark for a bit at twilight. Discovering yourself at 76, which is how old I was when he died, is a strange and beautiful thing. It's like finding a room in your house you never knew existed. Living alone has also taught me the true value of observation. When you aren't busy managing someone else's moods or needs, you see the world with much more clarity. I notice the specific way the light hits the oak tree in the backyard during the different seasons. In January, it's a cold, sharp light that makes the branches look like iron. In June, it's soft and golden. I notice the neighbours' children growing up, their voices changing, the way they move from tricycles to bicycles to cars. I am a witness to the world, and there is a profound peace in that role. You don't always have to be a participant to feel like you belong to the tapestry of life. I've also had to learn how to be my own best friend. That sounds like something you'd read in a glossy magazine, but it's practical advice. When I trip or drop a glass, I don't have Harold there to ask if I'm okay. I have to talk to myself. It's all right, Peggy, I say. Just take it slow. Clean it up. You learn to provide your own comfort. You learn to be the steady hand and the gentle voice. If you can't be kind to yourself when you're alone, the walls start to close in. But if you can look in the mirror and smile at the old woman looking back, knowing all she's been through and all she's survived, then you are never truly without a companion. People often mistake my solitude for a lack of ambition or a lack of zest for life. They think I'm just waiting for the end, but they couldn't be more wrong. My life is full of small, intense joys. The first sip of tea, the way Mildred purrs when she's curled up on my lap, the satisfaction of finishing a difficult crossword puzzle, the letters I write to my grandchildren. These aren't small things to me. They are the substance of my existence. I don't need a grand stage or a crowd to feel like my life has meaning. The meaning is in the doing, in the being, in the quiet appreciation of another day on this green earth. I sometimes wonder what Harold would think of me now. I think he'd be surprised at how well I've managed. He was always the one who handled the big things, or so we thought. But I've handled the roof repairs, the taxes, the plumbing leaks, and the long snowy winters on my own. I've grown stronger in my bones, even as they've grown more fragile. There is a resilience that comes with age if you don't let fear take root. You realize you are capable of much more than you were ever given credit for. So if you are out there and you find yourself in a house that feels too big or a life that feels too quiet, don't rush to fill it with clutter. Don't feel like you have to join every club or say yes to every invitation just to prove you're still active. Sit with the quiet for a while. Invite it in. Make a cup of tea for it. You might find that the quiet has a lot to tell you, and most of it is good news. You are enough. You have always been enough. And the world, with all its noise and its rushing, can wait a little longer while you finish your tea and watch the birds. I think about the concept of home a lot. For a long time, Harold was my home. Now this house is my home. But more than that, I am my own home. I carry the walls and the roof of my spirit with me wherever I go. That is the ultimate secret to living alone. You aren't staying in a place, you are inhabiting your own soul. And when your soul is a place of kindness and order and peace, then you are home no matter where you are or who is with you. The garden outside is beginning to wake up, I think. I saw a few crocuses pushing through the dirt yesterday. They are the first ones, the brave ones. I feel a bit like them, still pushing through, still finding the sun, even when the ground is cold. It's a good way to be. At 91, I'm still curious about tomorrow. Not because I expect something big to happen, but because I want to see what the light looks like on the oak tree. I want to see if that cardinal comes back to the feeder. I want to see what Mildred decides to be grumpy about next. It's a full life, in all the ways that matter. I often think about the advice I'd give to a younger version of myself. Perhaps the Peggy who was 60 and still so busy with the world's expectations. I would tell her to breathe. I would tell her that all the worrying about what people think is like trying to catch the wind in a net. It's exhausting and it yields nothing. I spent so much energy trying to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect neighbour. Now I'm just Peggy, and Peggy is a woman who likes her tea and her cat and her quiet. It's such a relief to finally just be yourself without the performance. Sometimes, in the very early morning, before the sun is even up, I sit in my chair and I feel the presence of everyone I've ever loved. They aren't gone in the way we think. Their influence, their laughter, their lessons, they are woven into the fabric of my days. I am the keeper of their stories. That is another reason I am not lonely. I have a whole library of people inside me. I can pull a memory off the shelf whenever I want and spend an hour with it. It's a rich way to live. I hope that whoever is reading this or listening to this finds a bit of peace in their own quiet. Don't let the world make you feel small just because you aren't loud. There is power in the still waters. There is wisdom in the hushed moments. And there is a great deal of love in a life lived simply and with intention. I've outlived most of my contemporaries, and that is a strange sort of victory, but the real win is that I've learned how to be happy in the skin I'm in. That's a lesson that took nearly a century to learn, but it was worth every year. Now I really must get to that tea. The kettle will be whistling soon, and I don't like to keep it waiting. It's part of the structure, you see. The tea, the chair, the window. My world is small, but it goes deep, and deep is much better than wide if you ask me. Wide is just surface. Deep is where the roots are, and my roots are settled. I am exactly where I need to be. Be well, my friends. Find your quiet, and when you find it, don't be afraid to stay there a while. It's a lovely place to visit, and even better place to live.